It's the most
We've already
wonderful
done that
time.
on a different podcast.
That's right, we have. I thought this seems very familiar.
The Gaming Lovers Podcast with Brendo and Jem.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Ho. I should do 3 of them in a row, shouldn't I?
You said-
Ho, ho. There we go. Much better.
Especially the way you said that, it was like it was directed at me.
Not at all. Not at all. Christmas cheer for one and all.
What a start to our Christmas episode of the Gaming Lovers Podcast. G'day, I'm Jem.
I'm Brendo, sweating on a warm Melbourne, Australia summer Christmas.
Yes. So while everyone else is, enjoying snow or, gathering around the fire trying to get warm and wearing those big, fluffy, ugly sweaters, we try to, keep as cool as we can.
Those fluffy, ugly sweaters. You people in the Northern Hemisphere.
You people.
I'm so offensive this episode already. People in the Northern Hemisphere who get to enjoy the wonder that is the Christmas ugly sweater, you don't know how good you have it. Because we want to wear them too and make it seasonal, but unfortunately it is sweltering.
Yeah.
And thus we would instantly melt.
We have had T-shirt versions of them with the prints, but it's just not the same.
Guess they're called a sweater for a reason.
We are going to be talking about video games that have a Christmas theme, whether there are levels, whether there's a whole game that revolves around Christmas and the holidays, or if there is, just a skin that's added on. We're going to go through some of our favorites and celebrate the holidays this episode, as well as recapping what we have tried to squeeze in this frantic week in the lead up to Christmas.
No, didn't happen. Did not happen at all.
I played a little bit of games.
Well, I was doing the heavy lifting with the cleaning.
Oh!
No, this is a tag team effort here. But
Yes.
It's been very busy. The week before Christmas is always very busy.
Yes. Early this week, back I think when I was in denial of how much work there was to do to get the house ready for Christmas Day, I made some time to go and play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I think I have finished at least a key part of the story. If not the whole story, there's still some stuff that needs to be done. But as far as Cassandra, who's the protagonist in my Odyssey, she has had closure with her personal life at the very least. So that was really fun to see and really cute. I think I got a good ending. So apparently there are different ones. So I'm quite happy that she has had some happy ending, given that she's had quite a hard, tragic life.
But you're unsure if it's actually the definitive ending.
No, I still think that there's more.
Okay.
As far as the bigger picture of what's going on and answers as far as why she has the powers that she does, et cetera, without going into too much detail. So there's still plenty more to do in this game, and they keep adding content. Every week there's a new patch. Oh, this has been added. And I'm like, oh, this game's never going to end. But I don't mind.
If it's a good game, that's a great thing.
Yes.
If it's a game you're just enduring, then you're like, oh, come on. Just let me finish this, please.
I wouldn't care. If I was just enjoying it, I would ignore it. But because I am enjoying it, I'm like, okay, cool, another thing. I haven't played as much Persona dancing as I thought I would. I think because I got back into Odyssey. And again, the whole laziness with the disc swapping thing has kicked back in.
You are appalling.
I know. But I'm just like, oh, that's what's in. Cool, I'll play that.
To be fair, I've talked about my buddy the Falcon before, and he likes to buy a lot of games digitally for that exact reason.
I have friends like that too. So I remember one friend even saying on Facebook that they get angry now. They don't like it when they have to go back and find something that's just on hard copy. It's all digital, including movies and TV shows and stuff like that. They don't touch all their physical discs.
Side discussion now. Now the floodgates have opened up here. I have always preferred to get a physical copy, an actual disc, a cover that I can put in my shelf and look at it, and it's pretty. The option is there to sell it again one day if need be. I very rarely sell or trade in anything gaming related because I love it all so much, and I have such a draw to go back and replay things many years later. So I love to get physical copies of things. I like to track them down, whether it takes me through eBay or some obscure gaming purchase website or something, or hunting through the bargain bins in a second-hand store, particularly in Japan. That was great fun.
That was.
But I've always liked that. And the other reason is because when you buy something digitally, you don't actually own anything. You are borrowing the rights to that temporarily, and if they ever say, no, we're not going to have PT on the PlayStation Store anymore, it's gone forever.
Yeah, especially
you
if
can
you
never
need to make
re-download it if it's
room
gone.
on your hard drive or cloud or whatever you're storing it on, and you delete it and then want to re-download it later, you might not have that option.
Who knows?
So there is always that. That's why, and yeah, that comes back to the reason why I don't like certain games that are online only, because when they decide not enough people are playing anymore, they stop the servers to save them money, and then you can't ever play that game again, and it's it becomes a coaster, the disc, if you even have a disc.
Well, that's just it. If you are looking for a certain present under the Christmas tree, there's nothing better than seeing a present that is video game shaped, and you're like, yes, and then you open it up and there's a disc with the lovely artwork on the cover, and they're like, yes, and then you open it up and you get that new game smell. Unfortunately, instruction booklets have become a thing of the past. There was nothing
they're all
better
digital.
on this earth than sniffing a brand new Nintendo 64 instruction booklet.
Oh my goodness.
That lovely
The
plastic
things
polymer
that come
scent.
out on this podcast.
Oh, look, you don't understand. Unless you've tried it, it's like drugs, I assume. Unless you try it, it's very difficult to explain.
Look, I get it. I do enjoy the smell of books, so I assume it's similar to that. I'm going to drop this topic and move on.
Breathe deep.
Have you played anything at all?
Here's my gaming goals update for the week.
Dead air.
It's been...
Great.
I don't
Nothing.
think I've played a single thing.
Nothing. Not even on your phone.
I don't... Oh, on my phone.
Hey, it
that
counts.
doesn't count. Okay, I have been playing Pokemon Go.
There you go. There's something.
Thanks, Pokemon Go. I've been making some progress. There has been some lovely... what do they call promotions around this time of year, the December community events and the legendary Pokemon you can catch. And this morning I woke up to a Christmas treat. I actually got a shiny Moltres, which just because it's pink just looks like a giant naked chicken. So I'm not that impressed. It's supposed to be a legendary Pokemon. It looks like it should be wearing pants. Goodness me.
You get a shiny, legendary Pokemon and you're complaining.
It looks ugly. Why can't like a Rapidash, for example, a flaming horse.
Yeah.
Not in the Aussie sense where it's just a flaming horse, but it's a flaming horse with orange and red fire on its back. And when you
Yes.
catch a shiny of that, it has this awesome deep blue flames, which look absolutely gorgeous.
Well, I have a shiny Eevee and it looks like it's just really sick. It looks so anemic. So you can't always win with the shinies. You just take whatever they look like.
Oh, boy. Well, I am happy that I actually got a good shiny. I have a horrible track record, with the exception of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, where you can manipulate your chances at getting a shiny Pokemon. Prior to that, my only shinies have been absolutely useless ones, like a Starly or things like that. Just Pokemon that are just like your most common, pathetic, you don't want to use them because it's like, oh, I got a shiny Staraptor. It's like, that's not impressive. That's not cool. So I'm very happy I did get a giant naked chicken Moltres. So, cool.
Well, all this talk of birds and no feathers is reminding me so much of Christmas lunch, which is looming. So let's jump into our Christmas topic and look at some classic Christmas video games, and maybe not so classic.
Yeah, maybe not so classic.
Share the love. Follow us on Twitter @Brendo Jem. That's BRENDOJEM.
Well, when it comes to Christmas time, we all have our Christmas traditions, whether it be gathering around and watching your favourite Christmas movie, which, for you, what would that be?
Oh, I love a lot of the old classics. So things like White Christmas and Meet Me in St. Louis, like the old school musicals are the ones that I like to dig out. And you're like, no.
I don't mind a bit of Elf. I don't mind
is fun.
the Santa Claus. The fact that he meets a grim demise is kind of amusing, and the replacement of the shaving. There's just certain scenes in that just always make me chuckle every time when I watch it.
It's funny, like as a kid you laugh at it, as an adult you watch it and you're like, this is almost like a horror movie. He accidentally kills Santa and then gets trapped into this life he does not want.
Oh, the responsibilities the big man has.
Yes.
My goodness, that's definitely horror right there. The ever-expanding
It's pretty
waistline.
sinister.
Goodness.
I can't watch it the same anymore.
And of course, this time of year also brings us across the great debate of, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
It is a Christmas movie.
Ooh, you've changed your tune.
Look, when you review certain key elements, like there's a Christmas party that it starts off at, there are key scenes which establish it very early on as a Christmas movie. So the fact that it turns into a very action-packed, very bloody one doesn't change the fact that it's still a Christmas movie.
And now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. A theme that we will no doubt be recurring during this podcast because, my goodness, the amount of times in Christmas video game levels, Santa is evil and often packing weaponry.
How very Futurama.
We found quite a few links in that field.
Well, you know, I guess the idea that he has access to everyone's homes in the span of 24 hours seems a little sus. So
He's like those great superheroes that they're like, oh, fantastic, thank goodness you're here. You have every superpower imaginable. But if you ever turn bad, we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
Santa. There you go. It's just, I'm warning you all right now.
he sees you when you're sleeping.
Oh, don't.
He knows when you're awake.
You better watch out.
You better not cry. It sounds like The Quiet Place. You know, the horror movie with like Emily Blunt
Yes.
and John Krasinski, where they literally can't make any noise of any kind.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's just, we've gone this. I'm trying to figure out where we are.
I'm sorry. We rabbit trail so bad. Or I rabbit trail so bad. Christmas video games. So there are actually a lot more out there than I realized. You start doing a little bit of digging and you like, to be fair, some of these games are more like expansion packs or just levels than they are full games just purely dedicated to, you know, the holidays.
Yep.
So we are looking at most of them. We probably will miss a few, but we wanted to touch on, I think, the main ones and ones that we've enjoyed playing as well. So to start us off, I'm going to go with what I think is an obvious one for the gaming lovers especially. Overcooked.
Now, when you talk about the great video game puns of all time,
Yes.
the expansion pack for the original Overcooked game called?
Festive seasoning.
That's right. It's cooking, it's festive, so why not have the festive seasoning?
And it haunts us to this day because of that level with the flamethrowers and the turkeys, and that was the level that we had to do. If you go back to episode 3 of The Gaming Lovers, where Mel and Steve challenged us to beat their score on this level, it was set in the festive seasoning expansion pack. And we had beaten the level, but we had never, once we'd beaten it, we're like, yeah, we never went back to it because it was brutal. And it's an insane level, but it's all Christmas themed. You've got jingle bells throughout the entire level.
You've got flamethrowers, that's definitely Christmas related.
There's all the food is very kind of like traditional, at least in I would say an English sense, you know, with the turkey and the roast potatoes and things like that.
The English sense.
Well, it's an English tradition that then is passed over to the States and over to Australia, to
Which
Canada.
is it, Passover? Which is it now? I'm confused.
Not Passover. That's a Jewish tradition. But like the reason that we have that is because we have the English heritage here in Australia.
Ah,
That's where it
yes.
stems from.
And the reason I have it is because of your family's Christmas traditions.
Well, we have a very English heritage, for half of my family. But still, you go to other parts of the country and they eat some very different things at Christmas time. So that's why I was saying that. I'm sorry, I rabbit trailed again.
Other parts of which country? Australia?
No, of other countries have
You said the other part of the country.
Oh, did I?
Yes, that's why I was like, what does Tasmania gather round the Christmas sausage?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, who knows what those Tasmanians do? I'm sorry. There's a bit of a friendly, teasy. Maybe not friendly.
I'd put a question mark after your little comment there.
The rest of Australia is kind of a bit of a bully to Tasmania. We have gone so off track.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Stop me. It's Christmas. I can't think straight. You need to think for me.
Excitement is boiling over, just like the festive seasoning food. All
I'm thinking about is turkey, and roast potatoes. I love roast potatoes. Can we eat them now? Are they ready yet?
All right. Well, let's slow you down, and I'm going to be talking about something that comes to my mind whenever I think of the Christmas theming in levels. And yes, most of the games that we will feature on this list feature snow and sleigh bells and ugly Christmas sweaters, like you said. It's not fair. We want white Christmases too. But when I try and think of where does my mind go when it comes to Christmas in video games, personally, my first thought goes straight to Banjo-Kazooie and the level of Freeze Easy Peak.
Yes.
Now, some might say, oh, it's just a winter level. It's not a Christmas level at all. The fact that the entranceway into that level is an advent calendar.
That would say Christmas
It's
to
a
me.
little bit of a hint.
Yeah.
There are snowmen and walruses and ice lakes and all sorts of giant snowmen with hats with X's on them. You have to dive bomb and they throw snowballs and go... Rah, 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 rah. That's the exact sound they make. But there is also the Twinklies, which are a little box of twinkle lights that are trying to make their way to the Christmas tree. But there's twinkly munchers in the way that go... Rah.
I wish I was videoing you right now and you're reenacting everything.
Apart from maybe my 2000 to 2001 Pokemon range of voices, I could do almost every Pokemon in the first generation's voice, whether it be a high-pitched one or a low-pitched one. My voice has since cracked, so I have not been able to hit the same high peaks to do a Jigglypuff voice that I could have once upon a time. But my Banjo-Kazooie range of character voices is almost unparalleled in my skills, whether it be train driving or video gaming. My Banjo-Kazooie skills probably outdo them all. So keep an ear out for those ones.
All right, do a banjo sound.
It's pretty good.
And Kazooie? Boggles?
His name's Bottles, actually. Bottles the short-sighted mole, not Boggles.
So
but there is a character called Boggy, which you may have got confused with, who is in Freeze Easy Peak, and he is basically just a belching polar bear.
I'll do that one.
What does Boggy sound like?
I stumped you.
No!
Yes.
Because Captain Blubber in Treasure Trove Cove has the burping voice.
Treasure Trove Cove is probably closer to what an Australian Christmas feels like. Nice and hot.
Sand everywhere, no.
Well, if you have Christmas at the beach, which a few people we know have Christmas at the beach, they do like a picnic style thing, cold meats. With the weather that we have this Christmas, I'm actually really jealous. Like, that sounds amazing.
Boggy the polar bear is there with his sled, but he's eaten something and he has a bit of trouble getting it out of his system as well.
Too much turkey.
No, it's jigsaw piece.
Oh.
It's a gigantic jiggy, and you have to ride down a big sled on the snowman's scarf and basically dive bomb onto him to make him cough it up.
Oh,
it's
Heimlich.
the advanced Heimlich. And then Boggy has 3 children called Soggy, Moggy and Groggy. And you have to find their Christmas presents as well. So you can see there is a bit of just standard winter level, and there's also some little bits interspersed, like the Twinklies and the Twinkly Munchers. And once they reach the tree, you can then turn on the lights, and it looks wonderful. It's Christmassy. It's wonderful. The music just makes me feel such a Christmas wonderland, a winter wonderland that we don't experience here. And I have identity issues because of Christmas in media is always the snowy wonderland. But anyway, Banjo-Kazooie, Freeze Easy Peak. I love it.
Going back to like retro video games, there's a few actually that have Christmas, but I guess going back to one that's linked with a Christmas movie that you mentioned earlier, Die Hard. Can play through it in all its 8-bit glory.
8-bit? Ooh, not quite.
16?
No, keep going.
32?
Correct. PlayStation 1. Die Hard Arcade.
So it's actually a little later than I remembered.
Die Hard Arcade had 3 games, one for each of the original trilogy of games, and each game had a completely different video game style. You had a light gun shooter, you had a third-person action, and I believe a driving game for the third one. But yes, the first 2 obviously set at Christmas, because when do things go wrong for action heroes? At the most important days of all.
Yes.
Now, we've already discussed earlier that the Die Hard debate on whether it's an action movie set at Christmas or a Christmas action movie, really, I don't care either way. I like Die Hard, not to the point of Jake Peralta, but I do like Die Hard. And, Die Hard 1, in the Die Hard trilogy games, is a third-person shooter. The player battles terrorists and rescues hostages in the Nakatomi Plaza, which is the setting of which Die Hard movie?
Number 1?
Correct. Look at you. Learning things.
Learning things?
Oh, well.
Say it like I haven't seen it.
And the second Die Hard game in the Die Hard trilogy is the on-rail shooter aspect, sort of like your Point Blank, what's it called? Time Crisis. They were very popular at that time, especially in arcades. And the fact that you could have the accessories at home to actually shoot your TV without putting bullet holes in it was wonderful. Merry Christmas, John McClane.
Yippee-ki-yay, Father
No,
Christmas.
let's move on. Let's...
What did you think I was going to say?
Well, not father, that's for sure.
You're listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. Want to join the conversation? Visit thegaminglovers.com. Record your comment or question by clicking on the button on the right-hand side, and you could be featured in the next podcast.
With the anticipation of Kingdom Hearts 3, which launches next year.
It's next month.
Yes.
It's in January.
Which is
It's
also
actually
next year.
happening.
Kingdom Hearts 2 obviously has some Christmas because The Nightmare Before Christmas with Santa Claus and all the wonderful warped Tim Burton-ness.
Yeah, my first experience with The Nightmare Before Christmas was in Kingdom Hearts 1. Now, when you first enter these worlds in Kingdom Hearts, a lot of the ones in the first game in particular, the levels, whether it be a Little Mermaid or it be The Nightmare Before Christmas or Hercules or whatever, it's like a condensed version of the movie's plot. Very condensed. So that was my first experience. So learning about these characters in a video game, and then I actually saw The Nightmare Before Christmas after that. I actually knew the music, the character names, the voices, and I'm just like, this feels so familiar already. And I'd never seen it before.
Where usually it's the other way around. People get excited seeing them in the video games because they've grown up with the movies.
100%. Yes. 3 yeses for you, because that's how much I agree. So the plot in the first Kingdom Hearts, when you go to the Nightmare Before Christmas level to Halloween Town, this is Halloween. Another discussion, is The Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween or a Christmas movie? The answer is both. You will then adventure around and try to stop Oogie Boogie in the first game, but then when you revisit it in the second game, in Kingdom Hearts 2, it is the Christmas side of The Nightmare Before Christmas. Santa Claus is there, Jack Skellington in his full Santa outfit, wanting to give presents to the people of Halloween Town. And of course, things go wrong.
Of course they do, because why would you be there if things were going perfectly swell?
Now, what was great about our last trip to Japan was that we'd been to Disney Worlds and Disneylands in the good old US of A.
Yes.
And we had seen the Haunted Mansion, we had seen things like that with the spooky experiences with some ghosts and some creatures in the graveyard and, oh, look out, it's scary. But the beauty of going when we did is that we just had crossed over to when in Disneyland Japan they had just started their Christmas celebrations. And how was the Haunted Mansion rebranded?
With the Nightmare Before Christmas. So instead of having the traditional voiceover guy, you have Jack Skellington.
Japanese Jack
Yes,
Skellington.
it was the Japanese voice. So we couldn't understand most of it. Although interestingly, like the witch that's doing like the has the globe, the fortune globe or whatever. That was still in English. So that was, I think, the only part of the ride that we could understand.
Adds a little mystery.
But yeah, it was still really charming. And I think I loved seeing that twist and having all the Christmas decorations everywhere. But to be able to go on a ride and make it feel completely new again, especially for people, I guess, like us who've been to multiple parks and done that quite a few times, it's nice to be able to feel like something's new again. So
And seeing everything covered in snow and having Jack Skellington in his big Santa outfit towering over us at like 10 feet tall. A little intimidating, but it did remind me of that level in Kingdom Hearts 2, which gave me a nice little Christmas dose of the warmth and fuzzies.
yes. So that was a lot of fun. And Kingdom Hearts is always fun to play. But yeah, it's nice that they have within that game like a whole level that feels like a Christmas game in and of itself.
Merry Christmas.
Now, recently, going viral has been an ad for Google with the Google Home thing, linking with Home Alone and getting...
Google Home Alone.
Yes.
I don't Google Home Alone. It's actually what I'm trying to... It's not an instruction. It's... I'll just leave that where it is.
We get to see Kevin all grown up, still up to his antics, finally getting to have his macaroni and cheese.
Yes! Every kid's dream.
Little things like that, but it was such an attention to detail. Every shot was so well done and very precise and recreated accurately. That was fun. But we're not here to talk about an ad. We're here to talk about Home Alone, the video game. Because, of course, where there's a movie, there is usually a cheap video game to go with it.
Especially in the 16-bit era.
Yes.
Yeah, there's actually been quite a few Home Alone video games, but the one that sticks out to me is the one on the Sega Mega Drive that had a wonderful sledding experience, and you could also set traps. Now, it reminded me of another game that I played a lot of against my sister called Spy vs. Spy. The characters from the Mad magazines, you would walk into different rooms, set traps, try to trick the other person into going into the traps. It reminded me of that style of gameplay, but you're against the Sticky Bandits. Or the Wet Bandits.
The Wet Bandits.
I think in the sequel they called themselves the Sticky Bandits because they got these gloves with glue on them, and with the people shaking the coin buckets, they'd stick their hands in, and out comes a handful of coins. That's why I call them the Sticky Bandits.
You wouldn't get much from that.
Oh, probably $1.20.
It seems like a lot of effort for not much payoff. Anyway, you take on the Wet Bandits and basically run through, like most video games based off the movies, you're going through the scenarios that you have, that you see on the silver screen, but you get to play through it yourself.
One of my absolute favourite Christmas movies, just because of as a child who loved science, I loved the fact of chain reactions and all the traps, and it was like a giant mousetrap board game that he was setting up in his house. This controlled this, you knock this, it rolls into this, and so on and so forth. I love a good bit of slapstick, which of course the villains, no doubt, fulfilled that checkbox. And if you think about it, if it happened these days, it would be a simple text message to say, hey, where are you? I'm at home. Oh, okay. There'd be none of this travelling all the way to the other side of the world for your holiday and then, oh, where's Kevin? Oh, no, Kevin's at home. But they do have a big ruckus
You wouldn't
family.
even get past, you wouldn't go on board the aeroplane without realising. I mean, I know they have a big family, but still, you'd be checking everyone off as you're going through with your passports and your boarding passes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were
Bad parenting. Why is there an empty seat next to me? Oh, well.
I know that it's an exhausting and hectic time, but still.
I got a little fun fact for you.
Yeah.
As far as the cash-ins on movies back in the day, if you had a game that came out on one console, it was good. But if it came out on multiple consoles, that's all the better. Now, Home Alone games came out on the Sega Mega Drive, also known as the Genesis, which I'd played. But we also had ones on the Game Boy, the SNES, the NES, the Game Gear, the Super Master System, Amiga, and MS-DOS. Now, almost all of those had different publishers, and the NES, the old Nintendo version, was in fact developed by Bethesda.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. Fun fact. I found it fun. Maybe you didn't. But I did. It's my podcast.
Let's move on quickly because I'm so hungry for turkey. So the next one that's on our list, one that had, I think, kind of a mixed reaction when it came out, purely because they changed the voice cast and it was a different developer that was making this game, and I think a lot of people didn't think that they were going to do a good job with it, was Batman Arkham Origins.
Yes, definitely set at Christmas. You've got thugs on the street wearing Santa hats. You've got a creepy Christmas poem from the Joker that rolls during the end credits.
Yes.
Now, when Arkham Origins came out, it had followed the success of Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, two fantastic 10 out of 10 games, and then they gave another developer the reins and said, just make us another one, make us a prequel, it's fine. At the time, everyone thought, no, this is less than, this is pathetic, this is not what we wanted. To the point that when Rocksteady came back and actually made Arkham Knight on the next generations, they said, the conclusion to the Arkham trilogy, completely ignoring Origins. Now, unfortunately for Rocksteady, Arkham Knight did not succeed to the level that the first two games did. And in hindsight, Arkham Origins has become a game that has gotten more appreciation as time has gone by. It had a phenomenal sequence with Deathstroke, one of your favies from Arrow, the TV show. There was so many, because it was an early Batman, so they did have a different voice actor, not Kevin Conroy doing the Batman voice. They didn't have Mark Hamill as the Joker. They had a Troy Baker, young Hamill is what he sounds like, and he nails it perfectly. There was just snow everywhere, of course, but what Batman game wouldn't be complete without gadgets and gizmos aplenty, who's it's or what's it's galore, and you have no shortage of that. That's why I love those games, is because of the range of gadgets. Arkham Origins introduced some great ones, and maybe, just maybe, you can ask your parents for a Batarang under the tree.
One thing that I really love from that particular one in the series was the creepy version of the Carol of the Bells, which is like the Joker's theme, I believe. And I think they used that music in the trailer when they first announced the game. And I remember hearing it, I'm like, I love it. It's so creepy. So, yeah, I always associate the Carol of the Bells now with Batman and Joker. So.
Now, I've got three more quick ones that were featured at Christmas but aren't necessarily entire games based around Christmas. The first is our little unappreciated mascot that got a little bit of love during the Gaming Brothers podcast, Gex. Had you ever heard of Gex?
Yes.
Okay, he's a gecko. He had a series of games that were relatively successful at the time, back when platformers were the popular game. 3D platformers had become a big thing in the gaming world, and Gex had a hilarious sense of humour. Now, these games are probably not as fun to replay these days because graphically they are simple, to put it politely. The environments are blocky as anything. The draw distance is incredibly short. But Gex always cracked me up because he did each level based around a parody. The whole theming was there were different TV channels that you could hop in. And the first level of Gex 3, Deep Cover Gecko, was totally Scrooged. A holiday channel that you dive into. Of course, Santa's evil. Who would have had a thought about that? Got your standard reindeer. You've got candy canes galore. It's your standard Christmas level, but one that is quite witty and funny, and I always appreciated Gex, so I thought I'd throw him into the list. Another one that I played surprisingly recently, included in the PS Plus subscription for the PlayStation Vita a few years ago, was the Duke Nukem 3D Ultimate Edition. I can't even remember what it was called. Megaton Edition or something like that. Now, included in that was the entire campaign, plus a couple of incredible official add-on campaigns that I had never played. I loved Duke Nukem 3D well before I realised there was an adult filter on it that was turned on to prevent me from seeing digital dancers in one of the clubs. They didn't show much. Let's just clear that up straight away. But Duke Nukem 3D was one of my first-person shooters. The first game I think I opted to play without cheats. Now, nowadays, I don't use any cheats. I don't use any walkthroughs. If I'm doing my first time through a game, I'm going as blind as possible.
I think the only time I've ever used cheats is in The Sims.
Have you ever tried playing that without cheats? It's incredibly difficult.
It is.
Now, Duke Nukem 3D, I could use the cheats and be invincible and explore the game at my own leisurely pace, but then I tried it once on the easy difficulty without cheats, and I loved it, so I worked up the difficulty to the next one. And I played through again, and I survived, and I worked through the next one, and I enjoyed it so much. So many good memories in Duke Nukem 3D. So then when it came out on the PlayStation Vita for free, included in my subscription, with new content, I was all about that. There's a holiday vacation one on an island resort. There was also Duke Nukem Nuclear Winter, which, of course, featured an evil Santa and his minions of elves, which are also trying to attack you with candy cane guns. And you've got festive worlds, and you end up going to Santa's workshop and laying the boots to him. Fantastic. Duke Nukem usually attacks aliens, but he does also make exceptions for large men in red suits.
Share the love. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Gaming Lovers.
Now, here's a pop quiz question for you. What has probably been my favourite video game series of the past 2 years?
Persona.
No. Oh, now that I've said that.
Danganronpa.
No. Come on. You know me better than this. What is it?
Smash Brothers.
For someone who wanted to get to their Christmas turkey, you're not being cooperative.
Okay, Yakuza.
Yakuza, the super serious, super realistic crime boss family experience. And you can dress up as Santa Claus and get beaten up by small children. That's also a part of Yakuza 5. The Yakuza games traditionally are set in December, especially Christmas time for Yakuza 1 and 2. But Yakuza 5 and Yakuza 0 are also set in December. In the lead-in, you can hear Christmas jingle music going in through the shops, down the streets. You've got decorations around. And there is one mission where you get hunted as Santa in Yakuza 5. And not only that, you get to play as the most straight-faced, super serious character in probably the entire series, Saejima. You remember Saejima? He went to prison a few times and was super loyal to his family, super tough, super gritty, like just a big hulking brute. And in Yakuza 5, you stumble across a poor, beaten-up man in a Santa outfit, and he says they are just crazy. They will not let me get back on my feet. They just want to take out Santa. Why do they want this? So, of course, he has a loyal heart. He wants to help the people. So Saejima stands up and says,
I will get beaten up by kids.
I will get to the bottom of this. And so he volunteers to carry the burden of the Santa outfit. Wear that black belt with pride, the red hat with the pom-pom, the big fluffy red coat with the white trimming, those black boots. He'll put on the whole Santa outfit, and he will take that burden and go and see who is trying to beat up Santa Claus. And then you run into small children that will not leave you alone for the next 10 minutes while they pester you with what they want for Christmas and throw snowballs at you. And then you think, well, how did this man get beaten up by these guys? This is pathetic. This is ridiculous. And then you go around a few more corners and there's a gang of thugs with lead pipes and chains and baseball bats that are hunting Santas for fun.
Trying to beat, presents out of him like it's a piñata?
They just don't want anyone to have any fun in the Christmas season. But unfortunately for them, they picked on Saejima Santa Claus. And no doubt there were some beaten down faces, and everyone has a happy Christmas except for those thugs who are probably in the emergency ward with fractured jaws.
And a little kid watching from the shadows seeing Santa completely kill all these people.
Fantastic.
Scarred for life.
Fantastic.
One of my favourites, I think, on this list, and probably one of the craziest. I think a lot of these kind of fall into that. Like Umbrella, they don't take themselves very seriously. Anything to do with Christmas most of the time is very just, here, let's throw a bunch of wackiness together and slap Christmas skins on it, and that's the game. This was The Saints Save Christmas.
Saints Row started off so serious.
I know, they were trying to be like GTA.
It almost feels there's a parallel there with the Yakuza series. The first game's super serious. They knew what they wanted to be, but Saints Row was basically GTA light. It was basically, here's a copy, the same style gameplay. You can shoot while you're driving. That's new. GTA later did that as well. So really, the Saints Row series had nothing to stand on. They did, however, have a fantastic mini-game called Insurance Fraud, where you throw yourself in front of cars and get ragdolled. The further you go, the more damage you do to your body, the more money you get. Fantastic. There's a life lesson for you, kids.
But they took that and the reaction that came from that and completely changed the direction that they took the series and kept it alive, gave it new life, basically. So it's a funny thing to kind of compare the first game and then the sequels thereafter, and just how crazy they have gotten with having such insanity, like even Jane Austen being her main character.
Yeah, well, I didn't see that one coming.
You don't think she'd get along with the Saints, to be honest, because they're very crass. and I know that Jane Austen was, forward thinking for her time, but even so, I just don't see her gelling well with them. But hey, that's just my opinion. But yeah, The Saints Save Christmas. You've got all your usual weaponry, but then you've got some special Christmas-themed ones as well.
Yeah, like you said, similar to Futurama, there seems to be a theme where Santa's taken out of the picture and an evil Santa, an evil Santa with his fortified sled and his army of nutcracker and soldiers and gingerbread men are trying to take over the world. And who can save them? Who can possibly stand up to it?
Oh, when the Saints go marching into...
The DLC for this Saints-saving Christmas experience isn't overly long, but it is an entire section of a game focused primarily on finding the true meaning of Christmas, and that is taking your group of gang members and banding together with weaponry and taking the fight to the North Pole and throwing out an evil overlord. And am I missing the reason for the season here?
The whole point, like many of these, is just silliness, and quick cash grab this time of year. But I think it does it pretty well. Like, it's a lot of fun, and Saints Row has always done the wacky combat really well.
Dubstep guns.
Yes, and so many crazy outfits, and you can customize it and make it feel like your own experience. And there's so many different ways to approach things, and you're in combat, but you're laughing your head off at the same time, and to be able to then add a bit of Christmas into it as well, just makes for a lot of fun. And it's not a long gameplay. but enough that I think you could enjoy it on Christmas Day or around the holidays with some friends and have a good chuckle together.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ones that I have enjoyed in the past.
Now, the game that takes the Christmas cake. Do you have cakes at Christmas?
They do in Japan, Christmas cakey.
Well, there you go. Christmas cakey. The game that takes the Christmas cakey as far as the most immersive Christmas experience that I've ever played is one of my favourite series as well. The fourth entry in the Dead Rising saga takes place at Christmas. Now, if you were going to unleash a zombie outbreak, what is the one day in the lead up to the holiday season where there will be millions of people all in one confined place, maybe, say, shopping centres, where you would be able to unleash that to the maximum ability?
Depends on the country. If I was targeting America,
It is America.
It would have to be Black Friday.
You're 100% correct. Black Friday. Oh no! All these people in a shopping mall. Oh, they're all infected with zombie outbreak. What a shame. Canonically, in the Dead Rising series, there's been zombie outbreaks before. They've been contained. Then they came back, then they've been contained, and so on and so forth. In this one, the Willamette Shopping Megaplex is back from the first game, but it has an entire new makeover. The character from the first game, Frank West, he's covered wars, you know. He's an investigative journalist. Your favourite phrase of mine from this podcast, investigative. It is a word. Don't diss me. He's back, and he's not looking so hot. He's older, he's slower, but he can craft different weapons into creative, silly things. You can combine vehicles like you could in Dead Rising 3, and you're going through with Christmas music, Christmas lights, Christmas decorations, Christmas weaponry. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want from my Christmas. Combination weapons that fire out twinkle lights out of a machine gun. Perfect. What more could you ask for?
And an excuse to legitimately get into fights on Black Friday rather than, just fighting over shoes.
Now, Dead Rising 4 controversially got rid of the timer system that many people did not like. I say controversially because I adored it. It put pressure on you. You have to get from A to B by a certain amount of time, otherwise you have completely failed that objective before it even started. And is that not the truest experience of the week before Christmas?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot to get done in this time of year. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to get so much stuff done and squeeze so much stuff into this time of year. But anyway, those games are always a lot of fun, just with the silliness and the creativity. And I mean, even without the Christmas theme, they're wacky, much like Saints Row. And I think that's why when you add that extra layer, like, it doesn't feel out of place. Some games feel like they're shoehorning it in a little bit when they add these holiday things and these gimmicks. Whereas having a Christmas themed one, it feels fitting. Like, it would be a really genius idea to unleash it at that time of year, Well,
I don't think about this too logically, thank you, dear. You're worrying me.
Well, rest assured, I'm no good with chemistry, so I wouldn't be able to create a bioweapon.
Certainly not in Dead Rising, because it comes in the form of bees.
Ooh,
Your favourites.
No. Anyways, those are just some of our favourites and notable Christmas video games, and I'm sure that there's plenty more out there. I would love to know if there are other ones that we've missed that we should try out, that we should test this holiday season. Send us a message at thegaminglovers.com. You can hit us up on social media. We'll probably be checking it sporadically.
Or perhaps if you and your loved ones have a Christmas gaming tradition that you do every year, maybe the excitement of pulling out that Nintendo 64 many years ago is something you go back to every year with your fam. Maybe.
Maybe it's a new tradition with, like, the Nintendo Switch and playing a bit of Smash Brothers this year around the Christmas tree or near it. Just don't throw any like, breakable ornaments when
Give
you
it
get
a
frustrated
run.
at each other.
Christmas tree and we're playing Smash Brother.
All right, gaming goals.
Well, it might just be whatever's hiding under the Christmas tree. There are some suspiciously shaped packages under that tree.
They might just be red herrings too.
Oh, I love red herrings. They're delicious.
Did you know that there aren't actually any things called red herrings?
Yeah.
Hence why they're a red herring if they're like, yeah. I didn't know that. It wasn't until a couple of years ago I found that out.
A red herring is something that does not exist, but you can throw people off the scent.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's where the term comes from. Things you learn.
Well, we're informational, we're investigative, we're everything. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. I'm going to leave my gaming goals open because I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know what's going to have my affections for the next 7 days.
I don't think I'm getting any video games this year, so I'm just going to say I'm going to keep playing a bit of Odyssey and Persona dancing games, that I'll continue my journey.
Well, I can unequivocally say that you're completely wrong with that assessment.
Oh, wait, what? What? Okay, present time. Merry Christmas, everybody. And next week on The Gaming Lovers, we're going to look at 2018 in review and the highs and lows of this gaming year. So we hope you can join us then. Until next time.
Have yourself a merry little chowski.
Sayonara.
Thanks for listening to the Gaming Lovers podcast. For more episodes or to watch some live stream gaming, visit thegaminglovers.com.